Slow piano music begins. Fade in on soft focus photo of a smiling young woman holding a coffee mug. On a cold morning in October, a judge finally signed the paper she had begged for. A piece of paper meant to protect her. But by the time it was stamped, she was already dead. This is the tragic story of Elena Hart, a bright, loving teacher whose final plea for help came too late. Today, on True Crime Hub, we expose a case where the system promised safety and delivered a coffin. Elena Hart was 29 years old, a beloved middle school teacher in Oregon. She was the kind of person who remembered every student's birthday. Her laugh was contagious, her empathy limitless. She loved baking cookies for her class and had a rescue dog named Marlo she called her first child. She met Aaron Keller on a dating app. Handsome, charming, a business consultant who seemed to say all the right things. Their romance was fast and fiery. Friends warned her, said he seemed too intense. But Elena believed in second chances, in seeing the good in people. Their first date was classic rom-com magic, live jazz, an art gallery, a kiss under falling rain. Elena, the ever-hopeful romantic, felt like she'd met someone who finally understood her. Aaron listened, remembered details, surprised her with handwritten notes. He swept her off her feet with ease. But behind the charm was a man skilled at manipulation. Within 6 months, she had moved in with him. By month 7, her friends barely heard from her. The dinners stopped. The texts became fewer. Isolation began. It wasn't just subtle anymore. Aaron began controlling her clothing, questioning male co-workers, criticizing her social media posts, and tracking her location. When she questioned him, he called it love. "I just care about you. Is that so wrong?" But love doesn't bruise. Aaron's charm unraveled behind closed doors. It started with constant calls, then accusations, then screaming matches at night. Bruises followed, explained away as clumsiness. Elena never told anyone the full truth. Not at first. He told her she was lucky he loved her, that no one else would. He threatened to hurt himself if she left. He broke her down so thoroughly, she began to question her own reality. The night he threw her phone against the wall, she spent hours sweeping glass shards off the floor while he stood behind her, silent, sipping whiskey. Her dog Marlo whimpered from the bedroom. Aaron had kicked him earlier that day for barking too loud. Until one day, Elena came to school with a black eye. She told the principal it was from a fall. But her co-worker, Danielle, wasn't convinced. That night, over 2 glasses of wine, Elena admitted everything. The surveillance, the threats, the forced lock-ins. Aaron had nailed the back door shut to make sure no one broke in. He'd installed hidden apps on her phone to monitor her calls. She finally packed a bag and fled to her sister's home across town. Aaron sent 43 messages that night. "I know where you are. I'll make you regret this. You're nothing without me." And chillingly, "If I can't have you, no one will." Elena went to the police the next day. Her hands trembled as she recounted the abuse. The officer on duty was kind but overwhelmed. He handed her a pamphlet. She was told to gather evidence. Screenshots, voicemails, witnesses. The process of securing a restraining order began. But the hearing wouldn't be for another 10 days. 10 days. 10 days she had to remain in hiding. 10 days where Aaron was free to drive by her sister's home, to text her nonstop, to sit in the parking lot of her workplace. The police could do nothing until the hearing. She documented everything, made a folder on her computer labeled evidence just in case. But you can't document fear. She bought pepper spray, changed her locks, took self-defense classes. But she also had to go to work. She had to smile at students. She had to pretend. On the morning of the hearing, she texted Danielle, "Finally getting the order today. Maybe I'll sleep tonight." That afternoon, Elena didn't show up to school. No calls, no messages. Her neighbor, an elderly woman named Grace, reported hearing screaming around 3 p.m. She called the police, fearing the worst. They arrived within minutes. The door was kicked in. Marlo was barking frantically in the hallway. Elena was in the kitchen. Multiple stab wounds. Defensive cuts on her arms. Her phone was shattered nearby, its last outgoing call to 911. Aaron Keller was gone. Across town, a judge approved the restraining order. Elena's name was entered into the protection registry as a victim. The timestamp was 3:44 p.m. She had died at 3:21. A statewide alert was issued within hours. Aaron's vehicle was found abandoned near the Washington border, partially hidden beneath tree branches. A drone search and tracking dogs led officers to a cabin 15 miles off the main road. He was found 3 days later, curled up under a blanket, dehydrated and disoriented, with self-inflicted knife wounds to his wrist. He was arrested without resistance. At his arraignment, he showed no emotion. Elena's family sat in the front row, clutching tissues, silent but fierce. The prosecutor charged him with first-degree murder, stalking, and aggravated burglary. His defense attorney argued mental instability. But the evidence was overwhelming. Elena's journals, messages, witness accounts, surveillance footage, and her own haunting documentation. The trial lasted 4 weeks. The jury needed less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Aaron Keller was sentenced to life without parole. News outlets across the country reported on the case. Social media erupted. How could this happen? Why wasn't she protected? Women across the U.S. shared their own stories of delayed restraining orders, of calling police only to be told, "We can't do anything until he does something." Elena had done everything right. Filed paperwork, reported threats, documented proof, and still, she died waiting. Lawmakers felt the pressure. Activists rallied. Hashtags trended. #Justice for Elena, #emergency protection now. Joanne and Marcus Hart, Elena's parents, refused to let her death be in vain. They met with state senators, appeared on national news, and worked with advocacy groups to propose new legislation, the Heart Protection Act. The bill proposed same-day emergency protection orders, 24/7 on-call domestic violence judges, electronic submission of evidence, mandatory immediate no-contact provisions pending review. It passed unanimously in Oregon. Within 6 months, 4 other states adopted similar laws. Carla Rivera, Jessica Martin, Naomi Quinn. Each of them called the hotline after hearing Elena's story. Each received an emergency order within hours. Each escaped a potentially fatal situation. One woman wrote, "I heard about Elena on YouTube. I thought, that's me if I don't act now. And I did. Because of her, I'm alive." Elena had become a guardian angel to strangers she'd never meet. Elena's case brought attention to coercive control, a form of abuse without bruises. Mental torment, isolation, manipulation, threats masked as affection. Experts pushed for coercive control to be recognized as a legal form of domestic abuse. In 2026, Oregon became one of the first states to pass a law criminalizing coercive control. More states followed. Elena Hart didn't die in silence. Her final scream became a movement. She was failed by the system, but in her name, a new system is being born. One that listens faster, moves faster, one that understands fear doesn't wait 10 days. Let Elena's name be the reason we say never again. If you or someone you know is in danger, call a domestic violence hotline. Reach out to a shelter. Save this story. Share it, because someone needs to know they are not alone. Subscribe to True Crime Hub. Comment with your thoughts. Let's keep Elena's voice alive by making sure no one else gets silenced. True Crime Hub, real stories, real pain, real justice. Stay safe, stay aware, stay human.